Hello, welcome back. In this video, let us explore how to spool or export the data from a data table in our language. fwrite function is available in the library called data.table. Let us import that library by pressing Ctrl Enter. Let me change the working directory. From this folder, I am importing a sample data. Let me execute this. In this particular table, we have serial number, sales executive. These are all the inputs available in the particular file. Before we use the fwrite function, let us go through the syntax of fwrite function. In fwrite function, first we should give the data table that should be write. Next one is we should give the file name. If we give blank, that will show the output in the console. Next one is append. This option can be used whether to append an existing file or to create a new file. By default, it will create a new file. Next one is quote. This option can be used whether to give quotations to the characters or not. SCP is the delimiter. Here we can change whatever is the delimiter as per our requirement. NA means null cases. If there is null cases in the data table, how we should present them in the output, that can be specified here. The next one, DEC, decimal. This is the character to separate the decimal points. And next two are row names and column names. Whether to give row names or column names can be specified here. By default, row names will be false and the column names will be true. And finally, this SCIPN, scientific notation. Through this, we can control the scientific notation of the numbers. Let us see some practical examples. First, I will try to write the data to the console itself. I am not writing to any file. Let me execute this function. We can see the output in the console itself. There is a difference between normal table and this output here. If we observe carefully, the data was separated by the comma. If we execute directly this data table, it is in the tabular format. This will be useful sometimes whenever you want to copy a specific portion and paste into some other files. Now let us try exporting the data from DT1 to a file. I am not going to filter anything. I am just spooling all the data from this data table into spoolall.csv. I will also show you the output. I will go to this folder and I will show each file by opening them in the notepad or in Excel. Let me execute this and let us go to this path and see the output. I am opening this file in notepad so that we can see the inside structure. Here we are seeing all the fields separated by a comma. The next one, for our comfort, I am just changing the working directory to the output folder itself. Let me execute this. You can see the current working directory in this place. While spooling, we can also do the filtering. Let us try with some example. In this data table, I am taking wherever region is equals to northwest, and that I am spooling into a CSV file. Let me execute this and let us see the output here. Let me open this in the notepad. In this file, I hope you can see the better picture in Excel itself. Let me close this and open in Excel file. Here it has been spooled only from the region northwest. Let me close this without saving. Let us go back to R. In the next scenario, let us see how to use the append option. First, I am uploading without any append argument here. Let me execute this. We already know that all the data from this data table exported to the CSV file. Let us see the output in the notepad. Here we are having some 50 records. These records can be shown by pressing the Ctrl G at the end of the file. Let me close this and execute this. Append equals to false. Let me execute this and see the output in the notepad. Here still we are getting same number of records. It was not appended since we gave append equals to false. Now let us try by changing append equals to true. Already we have created this spool_append.csv file. To the same file, we will append again the same table. Let me execute this and see the output. I am showing the output in the notepad. Now if we scroll down, second time it was appended below the existing records. Let me go to the last record and see the number of line items. Now it is showing 101. Let me close this and go back to R again. In appending, I will give you one more scenario while checking on column names. Now let us continue with other arguments. The next one is how to deal with the quote characters. For our convenience, I am not spooling this output into a CSV file. Instead of that I am showing the output in the console itself. That too, I am restricting only to the top 5 records. Let me execute this. If we see the first record, there was a comma in the name, self executive name, so that system automatically enclosed that text with a quotations. However, we are not observing anywhere quotations for the characters or text. By default, system automatically encloses the quotations for those characters with delimiter or end of line character. In this case, comma is a delimiter and the comma is available in the particular name. So it automatically enclosed with the quotations. If we don't want those quotations, we can give the option quote equals to F. It means false. In this case, even though there is a comma in this particular name, it's not enclosing the quotations. First one is equivalent to quote equals to auto. Even if we execute, this will be same as this first one. Now let us continue with quote equal to true. Let me execute this and see the output here. If we observe that all the text fields were enclosed with the double quotations. Next, let us play with the field separator. If we want CSV file, by default it will take comma, or we can also mention SCP argument. There you can put the comma. Now let us try with different separators. In this example, first one I am spooling a tab delimited file, and second one it is a pipe separated value delimited file. Let me execute both and see the output in the output folder. First I am opening the TSC file. It means a tab separated value file. Open with notepad. Here separator is the tab delimited. You can observe even though there is a comma here, but this is not enclosed with double quotations because it is different from the delimiter. Now let us see another file, pipe separated value. Let me open with notepad. Here the separator is pipe symbol. Let me close this and go back to R. The next option, let us see how to deal with the missing values or null values. By default, all the null cases will be spooled as a blank. If we require any other specific text or string, we can give the same here by putting NA equals to that string. Let me execute this and see the output in this file. Let me open this with notepad and let us search wherever null cases are there. Here, instead of a blank, it is showing the text as null. Let us close these two files and go back to R. The next option is how to show the numbers that contains decimals. Normally, we used to put a period symbol for decimal separator. However, in few number systems, comma can be used for the decimals. Let us change the decimal symbol to comma and execute this one. Here we are getting some error. This is decimal should not be equal to separator. It means delimiter. For that, what I am doing is I am changing the separator to the tab. Now let me execute this line and see the output. Let me open with notepad. Please observe the numbers. Wherever decimals are there, instead of a period symbol, we are getting comma. Let me close this and go back to R. Before using this row names option, let me show you what is row names is. When we see the content in the data table, in the very beginning, there is a row number here. Whether we want to spool this row names or not can be specified here in this option. When we are spooling, if we give row.names equals to true, it will also spool this row names. Let us execute and see the output. In this file, the row names were given in the very beginning. The next option is column names. You can choose whether the output file should have column names or not. I will show you by taking some practical examples. In the first one, I am putting col names equal to false. Let us execute this one and see the output. This file should not have the column names. Only content will be spooled into the file. Let us see the second option. Here I am putting col names equals to true. Since by default it is true, even if we don't put this option, it will show the column names. Let me execute this line and see the output in the notepad. Here we are getting the column names in the top row. The third example is when we append a file, as we seen earlier, the column names will not be spooled. Let me try with this example. Now I am taking a different region and spooling into the same file name. Let me execute and see the output. Now I am opening this file in Excel file so that we can see different regions. Here column names were not repeated. If we require the column names should be repeated, for that we have to mention col names equals to true while appending. Let me close this and spool a different region into the same file by mentioning call names equals to true and append also equals to true. Let's execute this command and see the output. Let me open this in Excel itself again. These column names were repeated since we put call names equals to true. Let me close this file, and the next argument is about how to show the numbers that is available in the scientific format. First, let me show you any one of the earlier files how the numbers will be shown. I am taking the first one. In this, if we observe, if the length of the number is bigger, that will automatically convert them into scientific format. Sometimes it will be difficult for us while importing this file in any other systems. For that, what we are going now, we are showing the full number by changing the SEIPN option. Here I am giving a very big length. Up to this length, it will show the full number. While spooling, here I am giving a 999 number. Let me execute this and see the output. This is the file. Open this with notepad and observe the number. Now it is showing the full length number. Let us go back to R. In this case, it was changed in the fwrite function itself. If we want to change this length at a global level, we can do this in options in brackets pen equals to that desired number. And if we execute this, all subsequent spooling will show full number instead of converting them into scientific format. I hope you have learned how to spool the data from a data table with various arguments in a fwrite function. You can play by changing these arguments as per your requirement. Your viewership is truly appreciated. Stay tuned for the more valuable content in the future. Your support means a lot for me. Thank you.